Welcome to the Whiskey and Window Marketing Podcast. My guest today is Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee is an amazing content creator, highly sought after, actually flown all over the country by people looking to get an amazing podcast set up to shoot some amazing ads. And I'll let him kind of give you a little bit of a background on what he does and his passion.
Thanks, Jesse. First of all, if I had known this was a podcast that included whiskey, I would have probably gotten a bottle of whiskey so we can actually toast and get this podcast going. But yeah, so I've only been a content creator for maybe professionally for about 7 years. But the reason why I got into content creation was because I was a personal trainer for a long time. And I had clients that when they would go away, they needed workouts. And I wanted to hold them accountable, give them a resource to actually use so that they're not just going off and not working out. So I would make YouTube videos on working out. I would do full on workout sessions and stuff, and I'd load them up onto YouTube. One day, I decided to create a YouTube video on how to get ready for Spartan, how to prepare for Spartan races. And that video, even though it was probably one of my worst videos I've ever made, it within a short amount of time had hundreds of thousands of views, thousands of comments, thousands of likes, and also thousands of dislikes because people just either liked it or hated it. But it got me monetized and I started generating revenue from it. And so I was like, I should create more content. And when the time came for me to retire from being a personal trainer, I was like, I think I'll just keep creating content because I'm getting money from YouTube and we'll see what happens from there. But that didn't happen. What ended up happening was I got picked up by a brand who needed content created. They needed podcasts, and they said, hey, we'll pay you a good salary to just create content. And that set me down this road of buying a bunch of cameras, lights, microphones, drones, and all the toys, all the while being able to travel all over the world. I was able to fly to Shanghai, Hong Kong, Vietnam, all over the US. So it was a great opportunity. But what I also learned from all that was you had to learn also how to travel with all that equipment, how to be a one-man operation, how to solve problems on the fly. And what also happened was I met some really awesome people who were in the digital marketing space. Dennis Yu, for one, who really taught me the importance of creating what he calls 1 minute why videos. And through that, I learned that for brands, businesses, influencers, entrepreneurs, that in order for you to be competitive in the modern day space, you have to create content. But more importantly, you have to create videos. And a lot of times people get in their head thinking that they have to have fancy cameras, expensive equipment, and they have to be really good in front of the camera. That's not necessarily true. All you need to get started is just this, just a phone, but you have to understand what you need to be creating. And it's something as simple as a 1 minute why video. Tell them who you are, what you're about, why you exist, why somebody should care, but through a storytelling process. And it was because of that that I was able to do that with brands from all over and create different types of content based on that principle. Focusing on short form content, making people know, like, and trust you enough in order to actually want to do business with you. And so several years later, here I am working with brands all over the United States, businesses all over the United States who need not only to sell their product, but they also need to be on the top of people's minds when they're ready to purchase. Because not everybody's ready to buy. But if they know that you exist, if they like you, they trust your authority, they know that if they needed to solve a problem, you're the person to turn to, then there you go. Then all that investment that you made into creating content and being relevant and being omnipresent paid off.
Yeah, that makes sense. And one of the reasons I was so excited for this chat is you don't see that a lot in the home services business. It's very focused on the people that are ready to buy now, which is 1% of the population. You have that other 99% that isn't being nurtured, that has no clue who you are. We have a few companies that have started to take content creation more seriously, And it's not the, hey, I'm going to make an extra 100K this month, but it's, hey, it's going to add 200K to our bottom line next year. um,
Mhm.
I know you've shot some hilarious and amazing ads for home services companies. When I mean, why should people take this seriously? It's again, not only does it seem that we're moving into more of a video centric world. I mean, all the platforms are taking video more seriously, all the social media, um, but uh, just to even get a more personable feel out there. What's your take on that?
I, so TikTok, man, TikTok. You can't talk about video without talking about TikTok today. TikTok proved to us a number of things, that content creation isn't just for kids. The early adopters of these platforms blow up and generate a lot of revenue, and you can find user generated content for brands all over the place now. Those content creators who are just literally just saying a script on the phone generate a lot of traffic for people, but also those kind of content creators are pennies on the dollar in terms of investment. So if you're not good at creating content, but you know what your message needs to be, and you hand that off to some 17-year-old, 18-year-old, even somebody in their 20s and 30s who's a UGC type of creator, you can get a lot of traffic to your space, to your business, without spending TV ad revenue, radio station ad revenue, and wasting a lot of money not getting traffic. You could probably spend 50, 100 bucks and have somebody generate some basic video without anything fancy and get a lot of traffic in your direction. But the bigger the bigger, more important thing is that not to actually create content, but it's in the strategy and actually sitting down, figuring out who your ideal audience is, who you are as a brand, what you bring to the table, what your unique product or service is, and how it helps people, how it solves problems, how it gets people to achieve their goal with the least amount of friction possible, because that's generally the case. So even when I sit down with clients, we spend 3 days filming. That's usually how we work. We'll do 3 days of filming to produce essentially a year's worth of content, but we'll spend several days beyond that just doing strategy, just talking about who's your ideal audience, like really fleshing out who that is. And then once you're clear on that, then you know who you're creating for. And then when you want to talk about your product and how it connects to their goal and their problem, once you understand what your features and benefits are, you'll be able to connect the dots better. So why is it so important? Because not just creating the content, but creating the strategy behind it and understanding. Because I guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, the business owners who know their product really well don't necessarily know their audience or their customer as well. It may not be apparent to them. They may kind of have an idea, but they're not actually spending the time to really dive in and really get inside their heads to understand what are the goals, what are the problems, what are the obstacles they face, what are the excuses that they come up with, what would they rather be doing if they didn't have to deal with these obstacles, and what are the driving fears that what are the fears that they're trying to avoid, and how does your product connect with that? Once you get to that, it's easy to create that kind of content. So you have to create that kind of content today. But going back to your question about why is it so important to create video? Because if you do create video, that video can be versatile in a couple of factors. One, if you take that video, you can extract the audio, turn that into a radio ad or some kind of audio piece. You could take that video, put it into a transcription feature or transcription service, transcribe it, turn it into an email or a blog. So if you use video as your primary vehicle, you can leverage some of the capabilities of that and turn that into repurpose that into other types of content.
Yeah, really. is amazing with one video like we're doing here. This will go on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We'll set it up as probably an email. It will be a podcast just on Spotify. Um, I think especially people that aren't used to creating content think it's this huge arduous project, and it's usually not. I mean, like you said, it can be one of our most successful ads ever. For a client of ours was a TikTok ad, and it's a guy here in the office, and he's literally going like this, and there's a couple filters on it, and it was shot on an iPhone, and it killed it. It doesn't
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be this high production value, and there's so much stuff you can do with it. It's much easier than people normally think.
Absolutely. And that's something that I've had to come to terms with over the years because I spend a lot of money on gear. I have I think 8 DSLR bodies now. But I will tell you now that one video I created maybe 2 or 3 years ago has ultimately pushed me in the direction of generating I've generated well over $500,000 already in the last 2 to 3 years just because of a video that I made from my phone. It could have been my any of my DSLRs or whatever, but I used my phone to create that one video, and that started me. It landed me some opportunities that put me in front of a bunch of people who were willing to whip out their credit cards to do business with me, all because I made one video with my phone. I think I even edited on my phone. I didn't even have any of my equipment with me. It was all in a moving truck, so all I had was my camera on my phone, and I even bought a gimbal for my phone just so I can use it. But that was it. So don't ever knock on the iPhone or the mobile devices. It's so good. And TikTok, I mean, look at all the stuff that you'll see on TikTok. How often do you see a vertical video done with an SLR? It's always been, for the most part, phones. And if you look at all the analytics, all the data, you see all the likes, all the comments, all the bookmarks. They're done. Most of those videos are phone videos. Sometimes it drives me nuts thinking about that because I'm like, man, I should just sell all my camera equipment and just shoot with the phone because it'll work.
Yeah, yeah. By the time, uh, depending on where it's going, like let's say you're putting something on Facebook, by the time Facebook compresses it anyway, it looks like it was from a phone. So, um,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. And like you could easily get clean audio and clean video just if you had decent lighting and you have your AirPods or whatever you're using in. And if you're doing a talking head video, it doesn't matter how it looks. I mean, yes, it does. It stops the scroll, but it's the content itself that keeps people watching. And so if you this is true for sales. It's either your hook, your story, or your offer, right? Russell Brunson says that in his books. You can test one of 3 things to see what's working, what's not working. It's your hook, your story, your offer. And the same goes for any of your ads videos. It's either like if you're doing media buying and you're testing, it's going to be either your headline, your hook, or your offer, I believe. So one element is the video, creating the videos, but then you have to think about what's the thumbnail that someone's going to see that's going to stop the scroll. You can have a killer thumbnail just off your phone. And if your content sucks, nobody's going to watch anyway. So it all boils down to the content that you're creating. Is it providing value? Is it getting people to lean in? Is it even if it's just a commercial, like we call them awareness stack videos, if it's a creative ad, a creative commercial that just gets them to stop the scroll and let them be aware that you exist, it's done its job. You don't even have to have any talking head video. It could be a 5 second, 10 second, 15 second video. But if it gets them to be aware that you exist, stops the scroll, triggers the algorithm, maybe you're running ads, then it's done its job. Every piece of content should be intentional with its objective. So depending on the type of content you're creating, if say you're creating a story driven why video, it's all about getting people to like you. So if they watch it, they like you, and they subscribe or they like the video, chances are the algorithm's going to feed them more of that kind of content, maybe more content from you, and then they get retargeted some of your authority pieces, some like how to, some expert tips. Say if I'm creating a video on like the top 3 camera monitors that you could use right now, that's an authority piece. It's teaching them something, providing some value. Then they trust you. And then if the algorithm sees that people are liking those or really engaging those, then it's going to feed you more content. So it's all about understanding the platform that you're creating on, and then also knowing how to create a flow of content so that it's just not just kind of the same kind of content over and over and over. There should be story driven content, authority driven content, and then maybe something that sells, right? So Gary Vee talks about jab, jab, right hook. It's the same exact thing. You hit them with the jab with some Y video, hit them with a jab with some authority content like expert tips or tutorials, and then you hit them with the hook with hey, here is my latest course. You can get it here. So it's just like that. And with YouTube, it's kind of the same thing. Help, hub, hero content. Help content is the kind of content that people search for. So you pop up if you have a video on the latest live streaming platform, whether it's StreamYard, Ecamm Live, or whatever, just a side by side. That's a video that people are searching for. Hub content is the kind of content that people come back for. They know that you're an authority figure in this space, or I don't know, they just like you for that kind of content. So if you're a vlogger like Casey Neistat, people come back to see his vlogs because he's a character, he's a personality. They know what to expect from him, so they keep coming back to his channel for that content. That's hub content. And then hero content, like if you're a fan of Peter McKinnon, he did his Iceland trip recently. That's a hero piece. It's something that they do once every couple months, every year. It's like this epic piece. It doesn't have to sell anything, doesn't have to do anything other than like, this is a moment in time that everybody is going to stop and watch. It's just like the Super Bowl. That's a hero piece. So depending on what platform you're in or you're creating for, you have to understand the rules of engagement and what is kind of the way to operate.
That makes sense. And again, I think people overthink it. For people that are, they hear this like, man, I do need to start doing this. I don't know where to start. I'm worried that I'm going to mess up when I'm talking to the camera. Because I'm sure you've worked with people who are like that. What's kind of the process you go through? Because, everybody should be doing this. I feel, and even just talking to people, it's more fear than anything that holds them back. Because we all have enough time to shoot a 1 minute video. There's no excuses for not doing it. For people just saying, I don't know what to say. I don't like being on camera. I'm going to mess up 100 times. So when you're working with somebody like that, what do you tell them? What's the process?
Well, if it's one of my consultations, we'll spend 3 to 5 days just doing deep dive and strategy sessions where it's all about the brand and their product and their service. So really understanding who they are. And as an expert, say you're in the trade, say you're in HVAC, guaranteed if you're hanging out with friends, especially colleagues, that's all you talk about is stuff HVAC related. Maybe. I'm sure it's pretty interesting. But if you were a customer asking somebody who's an HVAC expert about what's the best thermostat that you recommend, they could talk for an hour straight about all the different types of thermostats, the different models, the different brands, the different features and specs, and their personal recommendations. And you could put a camera on them and they could just keep going. They don't even think about the camera. They're just talking about it. If you had a particular subject matter that you're really passionate about, that you're really good at, you could talk for days and hours and minutes, years about that. What I would recommend is write down a list of a bunch of topics about your passion, the one thing that you're passionate about, and then just do a story about each one of those because you've had personal experiences and you only have 60 seconds. So if for me, if it was a story about the best iPhone or the best phone device you recommend today, I would be like, well, if I had to choose between an Android and an iPhone device, I would always go with an iPhone. And here's why. And just go into the story of like how I had issues with an Android device, but once I picked up an iPhone, I didn't have any of those issues. And this is what I recommend. So, picking a topic or subject matter that you're really good at, and then just telling stories about that particular subject matter, things that are very personal to you, and do it within 60 seconds. If you don't have someone like me to work with you, there's an app that I really, really recommend. And Jesse, I'm going to recommend this for you as well because you're a podcast host. It is called Poddex. As a matter of fact, I actually have the actual cards, but there's an app where they give you even more cards, and all it is it just gives you prompts so that it kind of gets the story going. So like there's the interview deck, the icebreakers, the hustle. I'm going to click on the hustle. And the first question is, how do you plan on growing your business? Or if you could be trained in any one thing by top professionals, what would you choose? What is one subscription you don't want to live without? So what I did initially, actually not too long ago, was I got in front of my setup and I said, I need to create some content. I don't even know what to create right now. I just need to create. So I whipped out this app and I went down the hustle because I'm very hustle. I have that hustle mindset. It's all about entrepreneurship, all about work. So I'm pretty passionate about that. I can easily talk about that. Or stuff that's tied to mindset, uh, deal breakers, fitness and health. Have you ever fallen for a fitness gimmick? If so, what was it? Oh my gosh. Fitness gimmicks.
All of them.
Yeah. And so I would answer those questions in front of the camera. I knew that for TikTok, I only had 3 minutes. So I would just hit record and just go. And some of those videos did really, really well. As a matter of fact, just before I took a break from doing that, because I was creating 6 or 7 or 8 pieces a day in a matter of like 10, 15 minutes, I would just batch create them and roll them out pretty much like 2 or 3 a day. And I started to see that the numbers started to increase. And as a matter of fact, a lot of those videos, they still get views today and engagement today. So find something that works for you, that maybe it's pod decks, maybe it's just writing down a list of thoughts and ideas, whatever's timeless or timely for you. So if it's timely, it's current events, things that are important to you right now. If it's timeless, it could be uh, business related. It could be um, something that's just personal that you want to share about, or it could be tips, it could be advices, or it could be anything like that. So whether it's timeless or timely, that's the kind of thing that allow you to create a lot of content on. So pod decks for one, write down a list of things that matter to you, whether it's stuff within your business, within your expertise, or maybe stuff that's personal. Because like if you create content to help people to know, like, and trust you, chances are they're going to be engaged with your business as well. They'll be interested in working with you because people don't buy from brands, people buy from people. So if you're a sole entrepreneur or if you lead a brand or a business, think about the Elon Musk. Yes, we know Tesla. Now we know we've always known Twitter, but think about how many more people have bought products from him or checked out his businesses because of the things that he said and done.
And
That's timely.
that is. And so one of the good points that I have with that is you brought up Peter McKinnon, who I absolutely love, and he puts out all kinds of amazing content and tutorials, and he's been somebody that's really helped me. Over Black Friday, they had a 3-day drop. I spent a lot of money on his stuff. So
Did you buy his backpack?
I didn't get the backpack. I got hats and a couple coins.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been looking at that though. We got a trip to Puerto Rico coming up and I might be picking that up.
Yeah, you gotta get that 35-liter backpack. That thing has flown all over the world with me. I beat that thing to heck, and it's still going strong. Like I can pack 3 to 5, about 3 days of clothes in there with about 60, 70 pounds of gear, and still fits under the seat in front of me on the airplane.
Oh, that's amazing.
Hmm.
I'll,
And it's on
I'll,
sale right now. I think it's like 329 instead of 399. So
I've been looking
you
at
might want to get your hands on
it.
it.
Yeah, definitely seems like a piece of gear I need. Um, Now, to kind of flip over to the more professional route, like working with somebody like yourself, like I said, I've seen a couple of your ads, and we'll put this on YouTube if it's okay with you. We'll throw up a couple, like
Yeah.
the HVAC one you did with the lady running with the hammer to her heat pump. Amazing. It's funny, and especially in home services, window replacement, you don't see that. You don't see a lot of creativity. It's a sales rep or an owner maybe in a warehouse or at a home with a window, and they're just talking about the window. So what you've done is for one, way more entertaining. Guarantee you gets way more engagement and interaction, and is an all around better product. So if someone like wanted to work with you, that's you know what I mean. What do they expect? Because it's a lot of people want to be as cheap as possible. They want to know they're going to get some kind of return. Um, so what is that process like?
So people have told me I'm like insanely expensive, which is great. I love being told that. And the reason why I'm insanely expensive is because there's nobody like Kevin Lee. Bottom line, that's how I say it. And the reason why is because when you pay for a videographer, the one thing that we talk about as content creators is videographers are great at what they do. They're great camera operators, they're great editors, they're great content creators, but they take orders. You as a business owner will tell them what you want, and they say, "Okay, cool. I'll bring out the camera, bring out the drone, capture all this stuff," and they piece it all together. Working with someone like me, what you can expect is that I'm not going to just sit there and say, okay, you want a video for your website? Great. That's totally doable. I'm going to be diving in and asking a lot of questions that's probably going to make you really uncomfortable, make you have to think really deeply and really have to inspect your own business as how does it operate? How do you solve problems with your customers right now? What does the sales process look like? If you said, I need a video for my website, cool. How are you driving traffic to your website? Is there congruency in the message? So if you have social media content, you have ads, and it takes them to a landing page that doesn't say much about anything that had anything to do with that social media piece, but was like on something else, you're going to lose your audience. And let's say if we created this amazing video for your landing page and they're excited, they opted in, they bought your product. Okay, what next? How do you continue the conversation? How do you continue the engagement? So I look at all the touch points. In sales, we used to say, well, still, I'm assuming we still say this today, but it takes 7 to 8 yeses for somebody to pull out their credit card. On the internet, it takes 20 to 35 touch points for somebody to pull out their credit card on a high value, high ticket offer. So if you're selling window repair services or window services, you're selling HVAC services, not just like the $69 consultation or inspection, but like selling a unit or a full system that's 15, $20,000. You need to make sure that you're creating enough content that hits on all the points that gets them to say, I'm really curious about this, I'm really interested, I want to do business with these people. It takes a lot of touch points to do that. And then this your comfort advisor or salesperson is going to be showing up to the house, and it's up to them to close them on the deal or whatever it is that they're looking for. But also, we're looking at the lifetime value of that customer. So getting them to buy something is one thing, but building value off of that one customer over the lifetime of their business with you is where you see the long-term investment really really go far, at least. So I don't just create one or two videos for people. I'm looking at the entire strategy. So I like working with brands that have existing uh, either media buyers or social media managers or creative managers or creative directors, marketing directors, because they have all the pieces in place. It's just a matter of being essentially what I call a content quarterback. So I will look at the entire strategy, create all the pieces, and go, okay, this set of pieces need to go here to support the service side of things, right? So landing page video, maybe videos afterwards for FAQs, frequently asked questions, maybe videos to explain the the next step. So maybe they opt in, they signed up. Usually when somebody signs up, it's like, okay, cool, thank you so much. Somebody will get with you in the next 24 to 48 hours. Well, how about adding a video that explains what your business is like, what's it like working with you, what are the next steps, maybe some frequently asked questions that maybe they usually get on a regular basis that maybe bog down your salespeople, bog down your customer service reps, maybe bog down your front office, taking care of things where it not only brings in revenue but also saves you revenue, or saves you money on operation. So again, looking at all the moving parts and saying, okay, we can create content for all these aspects so that it saves you time and money.
And one thing I definitely want to touch on is, you know, you're saying there's nobody like Kevin Lee, and I 100% agree. The best ad that we have run for ourselves was off the framework you gave us in Miami last year. That
Yeah,
was,
buddy.
yeah, it was amazing. And also, you got to think how many videos, you know, just I have watched in about home services commercials, stuff like that. And the one that I always remembered the best is the one you made, or the couple that you've made for HVAC. They're just, you know, entertaining. I mean, and that's what you want. If that person isn't going to become a lead right now, you want them to remember that ad in the back of their mind, and that's what you create, which is, again, it stands out so much, especially in home services versus the people that are, you know, hey, my name's Jim. This is our double pane windows. They're made in the USA, and we can install them in 3 months or something like that, which is 98% of videos out there for home services.
Yeah, and there's something that I've learned. I want to say I heard somebody talking about it yesterday. It was a podcast with somebody who works with Joe Crisera. I've had the fortune of filming with her years ago, a couple years ago, for an HVAC company. But she was talking about how when she was a comfort advisor, she wasn't selling on the features. She saw that the homeowner said that the house was uncomfortable. It would get really cold, and her baby's just crying all the time because it's uncomfortable for whatever reason. Could have been like allergy related or whatever. But she said, I wasn't I wasn't trying to sell on the specs and the features. I just sold them what they needed for exactly what they wanted to solve, which was they wanted to be comfortable. So if it was a matter of making sure that their the house was warm so that the baby was comfortable and slept well, or cool so that the baby was comfortable and slept well, she would solve for that. And so it's all about speaking to the emotions, the fears, and the desires, not the specs and the features. So if for me, my office, if I said I needed a solution for my windows because I don't like having blinds, I want to be able to see through my windows, but I don't want this like massive amount of sunlight coming through. You would probably be like, I have the perfect solution for you so that you could have the ideal space that you want without the discomfort that you're dealing with. That's how you would sell me on. If I mean, I am a feature type of guy. Like if you told me about all the features and the specs of a computer, I'd be like, package it up, I'm buying.
Yeah.
Uh, but to a homeowner, they care more about the comfort. So if you're in the trades and you're dealing with homeowners, yeah, features are great, but it's really the overall comfort and the the ability to not have to think about things but have it work. Just like when I was telling you, like I I switched out my $1,000 lights for different lights because I didn't want to have to push the button. I just want to be able to like speak to it and be like, "Hey, just turn off." That it was the convenience factor. It wasn't that the lights were 5600 Kelvin versus 4200 Kelvin. It wasn't the fact that they had, I don't know, they were flicker free. It was just the fact that I didn't have to use a use a remote to turn it on and off. Oop.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times we get hung up in, they say sell the hole, not the drill, but people sell the drill. And
Yeah,
as long as it makes the hole in the wall and that solves my problem, that's all I care about. You know, I don't care about too much more. I
yeah.
want to know it's going to last a while, but that's about it.
And I kind of feel that way about even camera gear today. I mean, you'll have all these content creators, YouTubers who get these products to do the reviews and they talk about all the specs and features, but it's not until they talk about what it's capable of doing and the results that it can provide that people are ready to pull out their credit card. So every single time a new camera drops and they talk about all the cool features, I'm like, that's cool. I'll stick with the cameras that I have because it's not the features, it's what it's able to allow me to do. And that's what's kept me from bouncing from one camera system to another camera system or one light system to another light system. It's not the features. It's it's the conveniences that I've been afforded using the stuff that I've been able to use. So like going from my Panasonic cameras to Canon, the reason why I didn't stick with Canon was because of the menu systems. I could not get down with the menu systems. Same thing with even editing the files. Editing the files off of a Canon card was completely different than editing from the Panasonic card. It kept me from doing the things that I wanted to do. Total inconvenience. Had nothing to do with the features. The Canon was way better than the Panasonic at that time. I spent way more on the Canon, but I ended up selling that off and buying back my Panasonic stuff because I knew it. I was comfortable with it. And it was convenient, and that's all that mattered.
Agreed. I'll let you go here real quick. I know we're getting close to the end, and I've taken up almost an hour of your time. Are you familiar with Tommy Mello?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he's I think one of the guys that kind of combines the mixture of just shooting himself on his phone and then doing very professional videos. So in tandem, it works absolutely amazing. I mean, almost everybody in home services knows who Tommy Mello is, and a
yep.
lot of his videos are not polished at all. Some of them are immaculate, So it's there's no king, It's a combination of things definitely, and I think when it's more, there's definitely the time and the place to look more professional, for an ad if it's going to be on TV. You don't want to be shooting it on your
Yeah.
phone. So everything has its place. Um, what is the balance that you, I guess, kind of find with that? Like, just have the owner shoot on their phone or the sales guys, and then when stuff that's going to be more, I guess, lower in the funnel, more professional versus higher in the funnel, and that's just the talking heads.
There are a couple of answers to that. First, if it's a budget thing, just shoot with your phone. It doesn't matter. The content is king. So something I learned was if content is king, distribution is queen, and she holds the keys to the kingdom. So if you're creating content, just create. Because right now, the stuff that you're creating, a year from now, you look back, as long as you've been creating, you'll see how much further you've gotten as a content creator. You've gotten better. You've become more polished. Things just flow better. I used to say ums and ahs a ton, but I've learned to correct that over time. Yeah, see, I've learned to correct that over time because I just kept creating content. So I still have a long ways to go, but if I look back at the content I created 6 months from today, it's absolute garbage. But to other people, it's still great. So people they don't they don't necessarily know that where you are in your journey, but you just have to create. And if you're not creating, chances are your competition is, and they're eating your lunch. So create, whether it's with your phone or with a DSLR or a production camera. But to answer your question, where does it all fit? What in terms of the balance? It's just like we were talking about YouTube. Help, hub, hero content. Your help content you should be doing as frequently as possible. Twice a week, weekly, 3 times a week, whatever. Hub content is this kind of content that people come back and see you for. So maybe it might be like once a week, once every other week, or once a month. Your hero content could be once every 3 months to a year. So frequency depends on the type of content that you're going to create. So if it's going to be top of funnel, getting people to know that you exist and getting people to like you, create with your phone. Authority pieces where you're creating tips and tutorials could be some with your phone, but definitely some sit down talking head videos like this in front of a camera is great. But if you're not good at it, or you don't have the funding, you don't have the budget, you don't have the setup to do so, put your phone on a tripod, you're set. um, and then if we're talking about ads, I've seen so many ads done with the phone. It's unreal. So it all depends. It depends on a couple things. Number one, your budget. Number two, what platforms you're creating on. And then number three, uh, what you actually have at your disposal and the technologies that you have. I mean, we're doing a podcast through software that costs what, 25 to 40 bucks a month. We didn't have this like 10 years ago, right? Like technology has made things so easy to do production level content without the production level budget. A simple giveaway tip: there's a program, there's a software called Descript. You saw this, you saw me introduce this at Miami, and you use it, and it's like the best thing ever. I mean, even the professional podcasts that I create now, I will still run it through Descript so I can get that crisp studio sound. And then I use Descript to edit it to create, the long form pieces into short form social pieces, whether I need it for TikTok or Facebook. I can change the aspect ratios and then add all the cool captioning and then export it really quickly, or have my remote team do it. So Descript is a great tool for creating and editing all your stuff. So it depends on your platform, depends on your budget, and depends on your resources. But all in all, technology is going to make all that easy to do. But the bigger thing isn't just the creation of that content, but the distribution. Understanding that once you just because you put it out there doesn't mean that your job's finished. If you really want to make your content go further, you have to take that one creative and test it in so many different ways, so many different platforms, with different headlines, different thumbnails. Even the post that goes with it, the description that goes with it, has to be tested in order to know what works and what doesn't work. If you're doing it on Facebook ads, run 3 different versions of that same ad with different thumbnails and different hooks and headlines and then test it for a few days on a set budget to know which one has the highest performing which one is the highest performing one, with the different headlines, the different creatives, the different hooks. It's not just creating the content. That's just the beginning. But if you're just starting out, I know this sounds really cliche. You just have to hit record. I hate that phrase. I really hate that phrase, but it's really true. You just have to hit record. And then once you're done hitting record, you just got to put it out there. And don't get discouraged if it doesn't land. It's not in front of the right audience yet. You just haven't tested it out enough. And then once you get consistent at it, you spent enough time doing it. And maybe if you throw thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars at it, you might get better. But it's all about being consistent.
Yeah, we've noticed that here. Our YouTube channel is something that I will be honest, neglected for a very long time. And videos will get 2-3 views, and now we have at least one video with 1,000 views, and they at least get 50 to 100. And it's just been consistency. So in a year, I'm super excited to see where we go. Mm-hmm. Well, Kevin, I appreciate your time. Where can people find you? If they want a professional, some professional video done. I know you're telling me you're out in, I can't remember if it was LA, but shooting a podcast using your 7 cameras. Like, that's professional. That's the level you get with Kevin Lee. So where can people see some of your work? Where can they find you?
You can go to imkevinlee.com to see my personal profile with my work. You could go to Video Launch Stack to check out how we do what we do. And then if you're a content creator and you're looking to learn the process, learn the systems, and go through my courses, you can go to kingmakersociety.co.
Perfect.
/waiting list, I believe. We haven't finished that site, but the wait list is there.
Perfect. I'm very excited for that. Like I said, you're one of my favorite content creators, and what you've just done for our business, indirectly, just by your teachings and what you put out there has been a game changer for us. So there's nobody else that I could give a higher recommendation to than someone working with you guys if they're serious about content creation and want an entire year's worth made. And again, entertaining content. That favorite commercial ever. So awesome, man. I appreciate your time, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Thank you very much for having me.